Welcome everyone to MS Views and News, our Movement Monday sequence of Pilates chair class. So my name is Bri Rhea. I'm a certified Pilates instructor here to guide you through the workout for today. So please be sure that you have some water nearby, that you're listening to your body first and foremost. Remember, I am merely a guide to help you move your body so that you can feel a little better from beginning to end. So let's begin. You will just need a chair for class today. And at various points during the class, you'll see me kind of moving my chair around. That's just to show you the different angles of where we're at in class for today. So we'll start with our feet planted. I've just scooched myself forward a little bit closer towards the edge of my chair. Hands onto the knees. Go ahead and take a big inhale in and lift the heart up towards the sky or the ceiling. And then as you exhale, round the spine, push into the hands, and like you're being punched in the gut, pull your rib cage and your abs back. Inhale, repeat in the opposite direction. Exhale, round the spine. Curl, curl, curl. One more time. Inhale, this is called extension of your spine, or sometimes you might hear it called cat and cow. So this is now your flexion, your cat spine. Now stack the spine up nice and tall and try to feel like the very center between those two movements, not arching, not curling, but nice tall posture. And you're going to place your hands on the outside of your rib cage and make sure your shoulders are soft away from your ears. Taking a big inhale in and a big exhale out. We're going to do that through the nose, in and out. And so your hands are here to kind of give you a little bit of resistance to breathe into. And also noticing like how much like movement comes from the breath. So we want this same amount of movement happening every time we take a breath. So with your arms out in front of you, thumbs up, palms in towards each other, take an inhale and rotate your right arm back, your left arm stays forward. Exhale, bring it back forward. We're going to rotate to the left now. Inhale, lengthen, 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 taller, taller, taller. And then exhale, turn and twist to center. Inhale, rotate to the right. We'll do 3 each way. And to the left. One more time. Turning, twisting, rotating to the right. And then one more time to the left. Good. Now your left hand comes down either onto your chair or onto your lap with your right arm reaching up and overhead. So these are just some great movements that you can do at any point at any time during the day to kind of help get the spine in a more lengthened state. It also helps us to breathe a little better, to move a little better. And so that stretch that you might be feeling, like kind of right down from armpit to hip, or even just from the rib cage to your hip, emphasize that lift. So like lift up and over to find that length from one side to the next. Lift up, 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 and over. So now we'll repeat that, but we'll add a gentle twist. So left hand down, right arm up, lift, side bend, and then rotate, placing your right hand to the outside of your left knee. Then, like a cartwheel or maybe like a round off, your right hand comes back down to the chair, left arm up and over to the outside of your right thigh or knee. So now moving with the breath. Inhale, up and over, exhale, twist, press, a little bit more of a turn, then cartwheel those arms up and over to the right side. So this is number 2 of 3 each way. So Pilates doesn't just strengthen your muscles, your tissue, but it also helps to deepen the connection that we have to our breath. So last time over to the right side, last time, last side. So that connection to the breath also helps us to stay in the present moment. When I say connection to the breath, like you're aware of when you're inhaling, when you're exhaling. All right, so now let's warm up a little bit through the lower part of your body now that we've got our spine and, insides all nice and warmed up. So lift and lower your heels up and down. And while you're doing this, just continue to practice breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. Doesn't have to be at a rhythm or a pace with the legs, although if you want it to be, that might be helpful. But just kind of moving through, like your feet are being lifted by two little puppet strings. Now you're going to hold them lifted on this next one and alternate. One heel goes down as the other stays up. Lift both heels, then switch. Both heels up, then switch. Kind of like you're like dancing in place with your legs there. All right. So now lower both heels down to the ground. You'll keep your feet onto the earth as you slide one leg away from you and then pull it back in. You choose which leg do you want to slide away from you next and pull back in. So this is where sitting on the edge of your chair can be helpful so that as you slide, like you're not leaving or lifting your leg at all to straighten it out. We'll get there, but I want you to keep it on the ground and like literally press down into the earth as hard as you can as you're doing this slide and pull. And I realize if you do have any shoes on, like that's going to be a lot more resistant. So you don't have to press down as hard. And so all of this is happening while maintaining that nice long torso, drawing your ribs in, keeping your core engaged, and like there's something pulling you up towards the ceiling, keeping your tall posture. So now whichever leg is out in front of you, hold it there, and you're going to try to use your core as well as your leg to lift and lower. Exhale as it lifts. Inhale as it lowers. Okay, so if you need to place your hands to the chair or maybe lean back a bit, that will make the leg feel not quite as heavy. And even if you need to bend the knee and lift the leg like so, that can be a way to modify or to make it less challenging. It'll still be challenging for you today. Okay, so now slide that leg back in, stretch the opposite leg out, lift and lower. So Pilates is about the control. So how well can you control just the lift of your leg while everything else remains like from the start position to the end position, rather than like leaning back just to get that leg to lift or working through momentum. Okay, about 5 more seconds. 3, 2, and 1. Slide that leg back in. I'm going to turn back towards you to show you from the front view. So with your feet still about hip distance apart, you're going to lift one leg up, step it out, and then that same leg lifts up and steps back in. But then you're going to alternate, go out with the other leg and come back in. Up, out, down, in, down, up, in, down. So to lift the legs and to move them back and forth, this takes a lot of hip musculature, but also core to be able to stay upright. So think about when, you're standing up from a chair or maybe taking some steps out in front of you. We have to have the core and the hips working together as a team here. All right, so now we're going to step out and stay. Then the other leg steps out and stays. Then we're going to step in, stay, step in, and stay. And then continue, go out, out. So hands can be supportive onto the chair. In. You can even lean back against the back of your chair as options. Slow, steady, fluid movements. One more, out, out. And in. All right, hands onto the knees, cat and cow through the spine. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, round the spine. 3 of each. That's kind of like our reset button here. Beautiful. Okay, so if I ever give you like an option where your leg is long and that is like too much to lift it off the ground, or you're having to like use your body to lift the leg, then go to a bent knee position. Okay, that's the other like just as great way to find that connection to your hip and to your core at the same time. So we're going to bring our hands now, excuse me, behind your head. And if behind the head is not an option for you, across the chest. Okay, so you've got those two different options there to work with. Start by first rotating, twisting to left or right. And inhale this time to come back through center. I want you to exhale, twist to the opposite side. And then inhale, come back through center. So with your hands, they're there to like give us a little bit more resistance to twist again. So anytime our arms are lifted, then like it changes a little bit. It wants to change the shape of like how your ribs, how your shoulders are in relation to your spine. So our goal is to make sure that that doesn't really happen. Okay. So most people, what they might do is they might like start to round or curl forward just to get those hands behind the head, or even flare the ribs up. So making sure that we can maintain head, heart, and hips in alignment. All right, so we're adding on to that movement. The next time you twist to one side, lift that leg up. Remember, whether it's bent or straight. So maybe if it's straight, you're doing like a can kick up and away. Or maybe you're just lifting that leg up towards the opposite elbow or hand. Got one more each side, 3 total. Keep your head lifted, looking right out in front of you. Last one, then hands to knees. Ooh, give those shoulders a little roll back and forth or forward and back. Nice job, you guys. All right, so now right hand will come behind your head, left hand either onto the chair or your lap, okay? So now coming into a side bend and then come back up, switch the hands. Okay, so we'll always start with the fundamental movement. So if this is challenging and you're good right here, then you won't take the option to move on. Because as we start to like get a little bit more, not complicated, but just there's more moves to the entire sequence, then I don't want you to get lost along the way. So now I'm going off to my left side. I'm going to lift my left leg up, not turning or twisting it in any way, but just lifting it and then coming back down to switch, lift the other leg. So finding that connection between rib and hip on the side that you're going down towards. And then if you still want to challenge yourself, kick the straight leg up out in front of you. So it looks like this from the side. Just a side bend, not twisting down towards it, just a side bend. I'm going to give you one more option to take it further. Your hand doesn't touch the chair, it goes down to the ground. Reach past the chair into your side bend. Ooh, forgot which way I was going. Do one more each way. I started on my left, and I'm going to end on my right. Ooh, and then take a moment, catch your breath, grab some water if you need to. Hands to your knees, you can cat and cow the spine. I'm going to start to step my feet out a little bit wider. And we'll get some deeper stretches now through the side body here, okay? So with your right elbow coming onto your right knee, you can either just lean over towards the right or reach up and over towards the right. And so we're trying to find that space between hip and rib right down on that left side. And if that arm is along for the right as well, you might feel that stretch going kind of up and under that armpit. This is where you can start to play around with like maybe turning or twisting down to the ground a little bit and rotating to look up towards the ceiling. All right, now take the stretch in the opposite direction. So left arm to left thigh. If you want to, right arm up and overhead. And then rotating down and up and down. All right, then from there, come back up, both hands onto your knees. You're going to take an inner thigh stretch. So the more you lean forward, the more you're pushing your hands into your knees here. So one at a time, you're going to twist to one direction and push away. So I'm twisting to the right as I'm pushing with my left hand. Then lift back up and twist to the other side. So now more of a passive stretch through the spine, more rotation. Let's do that 2 more times each way. Inhaling as you lift, exhaling as you twist. Last time to the right. And last time, last side to the left. Beautimous. Okay, so now slide those legs back together. And with right leg that's long out in front of you, okay, I want you to lean yourself back up against the back edge of your chair. So if you need to scooch back a bit or scooch forward a bit, find what works best for your body. Make sure that you do have room to kick your leg up in front of you. And with your spine in a long neutral spine, so you're not just like curling and slumping here, but lengthening and holding that strong position. You're going to start to lift and lower your right leg up and down, but it's like you're trying to reach it out as far as you can in front of you. So reach out, point the toes, and then lower back down. Your hands can be down by your side, or I guess like across the chest would be an option. I just don't want to cover the mic. All right, 10 more seconds here. Last 5, 4, you're going to hold that leg lifted, 2, and 1. Hold it lifted, and then tiny little pulses up at the top. So like that top muscle on the top of your leg is called your quad, your quadriceps. There's 4 of those muscles. We're about to work through almost all of them. So now start turning your toes out to the right, or turn them to like 1 or 2 o'clock on a clock face. Keep pulsing, 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 and then turn your toes inward. So trying to turn it to 10 or 11 o'clock. Keep pulsing. And then lower down. Whew. All right, so now slide the left leg out in front of you. So by leaning back, we give that leg a little bit more of a chance to lift up. So we are like its counterweight. If we were here, stacked tall, that's a lot of weight that you're having to lift against. Whew, so we got 15 more seconds here. Try to keep your shoulders rolled back and down. Collarbones wide. Last 5, 4, holding it lifted in 3, 2, and 1. Start pulsing. So right now, toes are just turned to 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock for 5, 4, 3, 2, turn to 10 o'clock. And keep pulsing, keep reaching that leg. Like how straight can you reach it out in front of you? Now turn the toes inward, trying to get to 1 or 2 o'clock, and keep pulsing, pulsing. 3, 2, and 1. Lower that leg down, and then stack your spine back tall again. So find hips, heart, and head back into alignment. Now you're going to take your right hand behind you on the chair, and you might, even if you don't have a back to your chair, just take it onto the cushion of the chair, behind you, as you turn and twist to look out over your right shoulder. Like how tall can you get your spine here? And then rotate in the opposite direction. So right hand to left thigh, left hand behind you on the chair. Okay, so now with your hands onto your knees for support to start, I want you to round your spine and your hands will kind of slide down the legs. And so this is where your hands can stay. If you need to, you bend your elbows out wider, depending on how far you go, and then stack the spine up tall. So like you've got a wall behind you, try to feel one bone, one piece, one segment at a time, rolling down away from a wall that might be behind you, and then rolling back up. Okay, so then if you want a little bit more challenge, reach the arms out in front of you, rounding down, so you're not touching the legs at all. You're not holding yourself up other than the strength of your core. And the core wraps all the way around from your back to your front. And when you're stacked up, your arms are back out in front of you. So we're going to do that 3 more times, whether the hands are on the legs or not, for 6 total. And so this is a great way to stretch the spine, but also to think of hollowing out the core, almost like you've got a little baby barbed wire fence in front of your belly. So like, don't touch it. 1 more time. Whew. Reaching over your shoelaces and then stacking the spine back tall. Okay, so then with that little twist that we just did, I'm actually going to turn this way so I can face toward you guys. But with that little twist that we kind of just like held for a moment, that is set up for saw. So go ahead and turn yourself back where your right hand is behind you, left hand is to your right knee, lefts and rights. This feels like a twister game here. So whenever your right arm goes back behind you, your thumb is down. So give me a thumbs down back there. And then with this, I guess both hands are thumbs down. Yeah, I guess I've never really noticed that. Left hand is also kind of thumbs down on the outside of your right leg. So now you're going to start to curl down over your right leg to the outside of your right leg as your right arm lifts up towards the ceiling. Then lift back up. So if that feels too much with that right arm behind you, then both hands can go down, kind of not obviously not on the leg, but that right hand's going to be right next to your left hand. Okay, so those two options, 2 more times. Your right arm, kind of like a swimmer stroke, swims back behind you up to the ceiling as you lift up, so helping to stretch the shoulder. Stack the spine, and then one more time, go up and over that right leg. Like really, you don't want to touch it, don't touch it, don't touch it, but you're trying to get as close to it as you can, and then lift back up. And we do 4 on the other side. So right hand to outside of left leg, left hand behind you, and that left hand is going to stay thumbs down. And your right hand, I think that's why I've never really noticed it, because that doesn't look like thumbs down to me now that my fingertips are to the ground. And lift back up and start again. Exhale. And so we're also facilitating this gentle but also deep stretch through the spine for 3 of 4. As you reach that left arm up, you're also getting that front shoulder and chest stretch, and lift back up. Whew. All right, I'm going to turn back through center. Just go for one more cat and cow. So inhale, lifting, arching. Exhale, rounding, curling. And you can give yourself a little gentle shimmy from side to side. All right, so if you do have space off to your right side, you're just going to give yourself a little scooch to the right with your right leg long. If you don't, what you can do is hopefully you have the space in front of you, since we've been lifting that leg up and kicking out in front of you. Just turn to your left and put the right leg off to the side. Okay, so those 2 options there, as long as your right leg is off to the side. Okay. Left hand will come down onto the chair first. Make sure your left foot is planted to the ground as your right arm reaches up and over. So your left hand is kind of, right now what it's doing is giving you like a 1-arm push-up. So this left hand right here, that 1-arm push-up. Lower down into it, push off away from it. And you can start to lift your left arm and then lower. So now finding the choreography or the flow of your Pilates, and your right arm can now go down the right leg as your left arm reaches up. So a counter stretch. So this is called our seated mermaids in Pilates. Exhaling up and over. Inhale. Exhale up and over to the direction. All right, so now adding on to the choreography, if you feel up to it, you can start to lift your right leg off and away. And it's not about really there is a little bit of strength involved, but it's more about finding that sweet spot, that teeter-totter of the reach of your body, the lift of your leg. So like see here, there, my hand and my foot are in that long alignment. So trying to find your angles, like where again is your Goldilocks in between of like reaching, holding, lifting. Instead, just find that strong alignment and then come back up. All right, let's do one more for 4 total. And bring yourself back down. All right, so counter stretch as well. Sorry, I forgot about the counter stretch. Shame on me. All right, so now turning yourself towards the left side. Now you might have to scooch yourself even more to the right. So that makes the right leg not as heavy here. So we're working through holding yourself in a almost sort of semi push-up position in order to lift and lower your right leg up and down. So we're finding that connection to the side glutes here. There's three muscles of our glutes. And so by lifting it off to the side, we kind of isolate a little bit more through the muscle called your gluteus medius, which is a very important muscle when it comes to balancing, when it comes to standing, when it comes to just like standing on your legs in general. Okay, so we got 10 more seconds here, continuing lifting, lowering, lifting, lowering. Last 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and stack your spine up tall. If you need to like scoot yourself to the left a little bit, go for it. We're not done yet. We're going to do that one more time. I'm going to give you an option to add on if you can, if you want to. So come back into that position, turning yourself, and maybe if you need to, scooching yourself to the right. So we turn to the left, scooch to the right to let that leg feel not as heavy. And so since it is your right leg that is lifting, I want you to start to maybe get a little bit more flirty with your left arm. So left arm, can you also lift that and lower back down? And so there's this, again, that sweet spot of maybe you need to lean forward a little bit more. Maybe you're kind of looking off and over a well space and you're looking to see if your wish came true. Whew, we already got 10 more seconds left. Slower, mindful movements here. Last 2 and 1. Oh my goodness. Right butt cheek is on fire. All right, so bring yourself back to sit on the middle of your chair. And we're going to stretch out that glute there. So you're going to take right leg onto left thigh and lean forward. Even if you can't bring it up onto the leg, you can just step the foot over towards your left foot and lean forward. So this external rotation through the hip there is just putting the muscles that we just worked onto a stretch. And then you leaning forward more or pressing the knee down more is also putting that muscle on a stretch. Go ahead and make sure that your right toes are pulled up towards the knee, so in a flexed foot position. And you could even with your hand kind of press them into a flexed foot position. That just kind of helps to keep the muscles active around the knee instead of just passive and you're just pushing yourself into a stretch. Like we want to have little parts of us that are active here. All right, so let's get ready for that flow over towards the other side. So give yourself a little scooch to the left, reach the leg to the left. Right foot is planted out in front of us, and your right hand is down onto the chair. Left arm reaches up and over. Keeping your left foot to the ground at first. Oh, and that counter stretch feels really good. After all that work that we did on the right side, you might notice like, oh man, like why are my obliques? Those are your side like abs. They can sometimes either help you into rotation or into side bending, but they might already be talking to you. All right, then we'll start to find that little flirtatious lift of your left leg. Oh, that was not a pretty one to start. That's okay. Our first time pancakes are never pretty. So I'm going to reach my left arm longer, longer, longer. And there we go. Finding that little baby lift, that float. Nice job. Ooh, there's about 3. I think we got one more. So let's see if you can just hold that reach. Can we hold it? Can we hold it? Can you reach longer? And then stack back tall. Take your counter stretch, put over that left leg, and then bring both hands down to your chair to the right. I'm going to give myself a little scooch, a little bit more to the left. And then so I've got that wishing well that I'm looking over again. So if you need to, you look over or deeper or closer to the water in the well to make that left leg float a little bit more off the ground. So finding, and maybe even if you want to, can you bring your left hand off the chair and just like hold onto your booty? So feeling those muscles sometimes can help you to like get deeper connected to the muscles. Like people who watch like on an EMG, like the literal, like you can see the muscle contracting, can contract their muscle harder when they see that their muscle is contracting. It's like this positive feedback loop. Okay, that was definitely more than 20 seconds. Go ahead and come on up. Take a moment, take a breather. So, but that's sort of how we can short circuit the fact that like we don't have all that fancy technology, but we do have like our hands, our own body that can give us that feedback loop of like, yep, that is a confirmation that I feel the muscle working there. So let's get ourselves back into position. Now this is going to be that harder option if you want it. It's going to be left leg, right arm that is reaching. Okay. So you're looking over that wishing well. Maybe your hand is reaching into the well as you lift the arm and the leg. Here we go. 20 seconds. Last 10. Try to move with your breath, whether it's an exhale to lift it all or an inhale to lift it all. Last 3, 2, and 1. Woo, lower everything down. I'm going to take a counter stretch up and over that long left leg. And then we're going to come forward and stretch that left leg out. So elbow to knee, foot in that flexed position. Oh, that side was harder for me. And so, yeah, comparing, contrasting one side to the next. Most people know their body best. So like, I know my left side is always harder than my right side. I've had surgery on this left side more than I have my right side. So it's just, over time, the scar tissue that builds up or the lack of sensation that you don't feel anymore, the feedback. These can all affect, but they don't have to hold you back from what you do on one side to the other. All right, so now we're going to scooch ourselves back until everything, like as much of your legs are onto your chair as possible. So like leaning up against the back of your chair. And if you don't have a back of the chair, like maybe slide up so that you can lean back up against a wall. Okay, so now we're going to straighten your right leg out in front of you. And you can't see that, but I'm going to flex, point and flex the foot. Point and flex. Okay, so even if you're only able to lift the leg to here, you're still going into that point and flex. And now what we're about to learn here is how like the fascia or the tissue of your body is connected all the way up to your head. So now when your toes flex or you pull the toes to your nose, round and nod your chin towards your chest. Go gentle here, go slow. When you point, lift and bring your gaze up towards the ceiling. Flex, look down. Point, look up. Do one more of each. Flex, look down. Point, look up. And from there, lower your foot back down. I'll explain what we're doing here. So point and flex through the left leg. Okay, so I'm saying with this point and flex, so when your foot flexes, what it does is it puts a stretch on the back of your leg that goes all the way up the back of your body, up to basically like the tips of your eyebrows, on the top of your eyebrows. So flex the foot, nod the chin very gently though. So like also along with the fascia and the tissue are the nerves. And so we want to make sure that like this highway from under the chin to the tips of your toes, and then from the tips of your eyebrows to the bottom of your toes, like the highway is traveling effectively. So we can get all of the nerve impulses back and forth, forward and back. One more time, chin down, toes up, toes away, look up. And lower down the foot and keep yourself back over your chair. So from here, your arms will reach forward and making sure your feet are planted because I don't want you to like fall back into your chair, but we're going to take big arm circles up, out, and down. And when they come down, kind of lean forward a bit, curl forward. Then as the arms lift, start to lift your spine up. A little baby arch as you go out. Arms forward, start to nod the chin down. So working through our cow spine arch, cat spine curl, and repeat again. One more in this direction. So once the arms are out in front of you, switch directions. Your arms go down, you start to stack the spine up, moving into your arch as the arms go out. Arms up, And then curl over a big imaginary beach ball in front of you, diving your arms down past your legs, opening them out, arching back. 3, 2, and final 1. Then stack the spine up tall. This time scooch about halfway in front of the back of your chair or halfway in on your chair. Excuse me, what I should have said. All right, so then with your hands in front of your chest, I'm going to lift my arms just a little bit so I don't press onto the microphone here. So I've got sort of like genie arms, which you totally can go with too. Like arms are stacked on top of each other or they're crossed in front of the heart there. All right, so as we rotate, this is kind of like what we did at the beginning. Inhale to come center, exhale to twist. Inhale through center, exhale, and twist. Now this is going to take a little bit of focus, a little bit of concentration on which arm, so right versus left, is going to start to reach long. So just because I'm turning towards you, let's go left arm. We'll slice back, but the hands are still onto each other, or my right hand is still onto the elbow. Bring yourself back in with the arm, twist to your right. Karate chop the right arm behind you, and then bring it back. Okay, so if your arms are crossed, you're still reaching back behind you and bringing it back to the chest, through center, reaching back, slicing it through the air, then coming back through center. We're trying to do just that one arm. So if I'm twisting right, it's the right arm. When I twist left, it's the left arm. So coordination of movements here. One more time from left to right, and we'll add on. So here's left. Stay tall, stay lifted. Last time right. All right, so now left arm slices back behind us. Lean back until you touch maybe the back of your chair if you can. Come back up. Bring the arm back in, rotate through center and switch sides. Right arm, right lean. Pull that right arm in, untwist, bring it back through center. Left arm, left lean. Pull back up and rotate center. Just one more each way, 3 times total. Whew. Shoulders are starting to get a little tired. Last time left. Last time to the right. Hands down, shrug out and shroll out. Shrug and roll just became shroll. Roll out those shoulders. All right, so now here's a little stretch that you can add to your daily stretch routine if you need to. So right hand comes underneath of your chair and lean a little bit to your left. Then your head kind of tilts a little bit more to your left. Now, again, we don't want to like yank ourselves into the position. So slowly pulling and then tilting. And you should already feel that gentle, not intense, but gentle stretch through that left side top shoulder. I just said left, I meant right. We're leaning to the left. So lift back up, left hand hooks under, lean right, tilt the head to the right, and breathe. Okay, a different angle to stretch the neck. Your right hand comes behind your, or onto the back of your chair. Thumb is down. And so as you're starting to lean forward, you can let your left hand kind of rest onto the lap or hang down underneath of you. But allow, since that right arm is behind us, allow the rotation to turn you to the right. So that right shoulder is kind of back behind us and the left shoulder is forward. Okay, now come back up. And with your right hand, go to the inside of your chair. And if you don't quite have the inside, then you'll scooch or turn yourself so that your thumb can turn up. So your thumb is holding onto the chair, thumb up. So now that same sort of lean, if you're facing forward, as you lean more forward, that lean turns into a twist. So kind of helping to gently open up and glide that right shoulder back a bit. And then let's switch sides. So left thumb down, grab the outside of your chair, lean forward. And the more you lean, the more you passively start to twist to the left. Right hand can rest onto the right thigh. Think of lengthening your head as far away from your tail as you can. And come on up and switch sides. So now left hand is thumb up. So if you have an inside of your chair that you can grab onto, great. If you don't, you might have to turn a bit so that your left hand can still stay thumb pulled up. So you might be on the outside of the opposite side of your chair. Leaning away, twisting away. And then you'll stack the spine back up tall. Okay. Nice little upper body intermission. All right, so now that we got the sort of loosey-goosey, sit forward onto your chair, feet are hip distance apart, planted and rooted down. Your arms reach up overhead like a snow angel, and then lower back down by your side. Inhale to lift and reach. Exhale, lower with control. Make sure your arms don't just drop down by your side. Inhale and exhale. 10 more seconds. 4, 3, 2, and holding the arms up overhead, we then pull your elbows down and then push back up overhead. So literally like you're trying to pull something down towards you and then like you're pushing it back away. So I want you to feel like you're moving through quicksand or molasses, maybe honey, or I don't know, grits if you're from the South. Really thick swamp water if you're from like the South, like in Florida. Snow, if you're up north, you're like moving through that snow. All right, last 3, 2, arms stay up overhead. Last 1. Okay, now right arm comes down, and then you'll switch the arms past each other. Left arm down, right arm up. So now working on the coordination of mind, body, body, mind. Yeah, if you don't quite have room off to the side of you, you can go up, down in front of you, and vice versa. And we're trying to keep that body from tilting or leaning from side to side. Stay upright. 3, 2, and 1. Bring both arms back up overhead and lower them down in front of us, both together, and up again. On this, we'll inhale to go down. And as you exhale, think of your ribs pulling down, down, down as your arms lift up. So rather than like sort of just thrusting your body to get those arms up, we want to keep that nice long neutral spine position as you reach overhead and lower back down. Whew, last 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lower those arms down, give them a little wiggle. Probably feel like wet noodles now, but we're not done with our upper body work. All right. So if you need to take any of those stretches that we did at the beginning, like lean and lean, go for it. Okay. But the next setup is arms will start off to the side like we just pulled something down. And it's like you're playing a game of peekaboo with somebody. So close the elbows and the hands out in front of the face, then open the arms and the hands back out to the side of you. And again, as you're doing this, the spine position doesn't move, arch, or curl. You're staying in that long, like how tall can you lift yourself up towards the ceiling as your tailbone roots down into your chair. Last 10. 6, 5, 2, arms stay out to the side. Now reach them out and pull them in. And as you're reaching them out, make sure they don't drop down and lift up. They stay lifted the entire time. Think of your shoulder blades pulling towards one another so your chest stays open. 10 seconds left. Arms stay long in 3, 2, and 1. Lower the arms down about halfway and lift back up about halfway. Ooh. So as you're lowering and lifting, can you keep the connection like under your armpits? You're like, how do I lift from under my armpits? The arms are connected to the back. So like we'll start to feel like those shoulder blades kind of rotating around to get those arms up. Ooh, that's 3 seconds. 2, and 1. Lower the arms down by your side, nod chin to chest, roll into, really big curled spine. And then I'm going to press my hands up against the back of my legs, the back of my calves, closer towards the ankles. And the more I press, the more I'm curling my spine. Like I'm trying to fit into a ball shape with my body. And that'll stretch out the back a little bit more across the shoulder blades and the top of my rib cage. So now rolling and stacking the spine, back up. Feel head come back over the heart, back over the hips. Nice job there, you guys. All right, so then scooch back about halfway onto your chair again. Feet are planted. And we're going to start that leg lift again. This time I want you leaning forward into your hands though. So the more you lean back, the easier it is to lift the leg. The further you are leaned forward, the less space that it has to lift. So if you're like, that's too hard, I can't even get the leg up, then lean back a bit or maybe sit up tall. But I want you to focus on the lift coming from the core. So you're just crunching that knee up into your chest. 5 more seconds. 4, 3, 2, and switch sides. And so you leaning into your hands can either pull under the chair. So maybe you can pull that leg up or get the sensation of pulling your leg up, or your hands are pressing into the chair. So that press kind of hollows out the abs a little bit more. Last 5 seconds already. 3, 2, and 1. So now stack the spine up tall. And actually, I probably should have just stayed to the side there. We're going to alternate. So lean forward. You're still in that same position. Lift one leg, put it back down. Lift the other leg, put it back down. So you're just marching, walking in place here, and using the core, or getting the sensation that when you lift your leg, the lift should be starting from the core. All right, so now, as long as your body isn't like moving from side to side, just get that leg lifted. Can you take your hands away and do the same thing to pull up and down? Yeah, you can put your hands off to the side, kind of help with balance. Last 3, 2, and 1. Very good, you guys. Hands to back down and behind you. So lift your heart up towards the ceiling. And then nod the chin down towards your chest. Keep your hands either behind you, or you can even hold onto the back of your chair and curl forward more over those legs. Oh, yes. All right, bringing arms and legs to the party here. So your right arm will start off to the side. Your left hand can support you under the chair if you need a little bit extra support or help. So with your right arm, go ahead and reach it out in front of you and kick the left leg up. Lower it back down. So all I'm doing is straightening that leg, and that straightening of the left leg kicks it up off the ground. If you wanted to challenge yourself, you can reach up and away with that right arm and then pull it back down. And we can even exaggerate the movement by turning and reaching behind you with the arm, and then twisting, reaching past the leg. So think if you had like an axe in your hand and rotating, twisting into that rotation. And this is us finding those internal and external obliques. Let's let that be our last one. Like 3 seconds to get there. Then raise your left arm either out to the side or up overhead, and then start to lift and pull hand and foot together, or maybe go right into those wood chops and reach. Nice job. Excelente. Remember, if you need to lean back a bit, that's one way to make that leg feel a little lighter, a little less heavy. If you're leaned forward, oh boy, that's you kind of working against yourself. So if you want that challenge, go for it. Last 3, 2, see if you can get one last rep in. Woo. And then bring it all back down. All right, take your legs out wide. With your hands to the inside, we'll finish with one little twist to the left or right. And when I say finish, I just mean like finish with this rotation, stretch. And then we'll start into your side bend stretch. So Back to where left arm, left thigh, reach up overhead. And then right arm, right thigh, left arm up overhead. There you go. Yes, nice. All right, then keep your feet where they are. How can you twist from this position? If you need to, both hands can kind of stay on both legs to turn you to the left or right, or you can grab onto the back of your chair and one of the legs. Okay, then turn and twist in the opposite direction. Almost like a barbershop pole, lifting up, twisting to one side or one direction. Yes. Okay, so a little bit more ab work here. You're going to turn yourself so that you have the back of your chair to your right. Okay, so the back of your chair is to the right. Now, if you don't have a back of the chair, I recommend maybe scooching yourself up against like a table or something that you can hold on to. Maybe a door handle or like a doorknob. So leaning back is what we're going for here. So my legs, I've got a majority of them on the chair, but there's still about a handprint. Oh, not yet. There we go. A handprint of space behind my bottom there. So my right hand is holding onto the back of my chair. So even when I lengthen my arm out, I'm still holding strong through the chair. Left arm is going to be next to it. So I'm going to turn the chair actually in just a moment so you can see what's going on from the back side. Start by lifting or marching one leg up at a time in towards your legs. And as you're lifting, exhale. Okay, I'm going to turn this to the side. You can see how I'm holding onto the chair here. Lifting and lowering. All right, so I'm going to turn that back. Everyone else keeps going. We'll take a moment of rest in 3, 2, and 1. Okay, so now stack up nice and tall. So if that was challenging, stay there with it. If you want a little bit more challenge, scoot your hips even more forward. So your body weight is what we're using to counterbalance the weight of our legs. Of course, if you don't feel comfortable with this next move, then listen to your body, please and always. So like you're getting punched in the gut, you're going to start to curl your tailbone underneath of you, lengthen your right arm out, your left hand can hold under the chair, and then you might be able to, depending on how far back you're leaning, lift both legs. And even if it is just like a little baby lift, like you could do a one leg, then the other kind of hop off of the mat or off of the ground, off the mat, off the ground, and then try tapping one foot down at a time. So you got to keep that deep scoop and curl through your abs, through your spine, in order to hold that strength from the core. If you're feeling this in your back, then you're not quite in the right position. So go ahead and come back up, bring your hands to the knees, cat and cow through the spine, and that cow spine will feel like that really nice counter stretch to open up through the front and then to curl and round through the back. All right, so then final little move here, whether you're scooched forward so you can lean back more, or you're back and you can just lift one leg at a time, wherever you're at. You're going to take your options, maybe both legs or one leg is lifted, and then one arm, then both arms reach forward. So I don't have both hands on the chair or at all. So now just holding that position. Then if you do have that one leg lifted, you can place the hands back down or put both feet to the ground while both hands stay. So you're either holding here, then switching, holding for about 5 or 6 seconds, holding. And the reason why holding or like isometrically holding the muscles here is because like our core these are endurance muscles. So they're meant to hold. They're meant to hold us up standing, sitting, good posture. So wherever you're at, do one more 5 to 6 second hold. And then lower back down, stack the spine up tall. Woo! Cat and cow through the spine. And if one direction feels like a stretch, like stay in it just a little bit longer. Give yourself a little freestyle, maybe shimmy from side to side or a side bend from one direction to the next. Very good. All right. That was fun. You didn't think you'd be like floating off the ground today, did you? All right. So scoot your hips all the way forward so that your hands have room behind you. I'm going to scooch to the back a bit. Then we're going to start our cool down. All right. So off to the front edge, hands are behind you, and my fingertips are off towards the side as well. Okay. So it's going to be a little baby tricep press. So bending into the arms and then pressing yourself forward. Now, understand we have like all different types of levels here, so I'm going to give you an option to take it one step further, but we need to make sure that we're doing this correctly. So instead of like letting your shoulders sink towards your ears and then pressing up from there, keep your shoulders down away from the ears the entire time. So almost like your turtle head is staying out of the shell. Like keep it out of the shell. It's like, no, 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 I don't want to go back into the shell. Okay. So if you do want to take it one step further, you'll walk your hands to the front edge of your chair, lift your hips off, and then do a tiny little bend and stretch. So my hips are hanging off the front edge of my chair, but my shoulders are not creeping up next to my ears. Instead, my neck stays long, my little turtle head stays out of the shell. Ooh, for 5 more seconds. 3, 2, and 1. Ooh, you kind of have to like keep a little reserve in the tank to get back up onto that chair. All right, let's finish with our cool down here. Nice job today, everyone. So take your right arm up overhead like you have a question, then give yourself a little pat on the back, and then your left hand comes to your elbow. Slide it down the back. If reaching up is not there, then reach across the chest. So right hand is kind of giving yourself a pat on the back on the left shoulder, and you're gently pulling it across the chest, almost like you're giving yourself like a big bear hug around your neck. Okay, then left arm either up overhead or across the chest to the opposite shoulder, and gently press that elbow, or the crook of your elbow, into the front of your neck. Mm-hmm. All right, then both hands underneath of your chair. Nod the chin forward and gently lean forward. The more you curl your spine, the more of a stretch you'll feel. If you're like, well, I don't quite feel the stretch, then the angle of like where you're grabbing might need to be a little deeper, which means you can lean or not lean, but reach back for the back of your chair rather than under your chair and try leaning forward from there. Then we'll lift our spine back up tall, lean back against your chair, hands behind your head. You can either interlace your fingers or cup them, and inhale to lean your head back into your hands, open the elbows wide, get a nice chest stretch. And then as you exhale, go ahead and stack the spine back up tall again. All right, so we're coming back into that external rotation of the hip. So opposite ankle to the opposite thigh. So I've got my right ankle to left thigh. And then leaning forward, remember to pull the toes up towards the nose. And I'm going to give you a little stretch to take it in the opposite direction. So our hips and our shoulders are the most mobile joints in the body. They move through a range that can move through what's called circumduction. So it doesn't just kick forward and back or out to the side and in, but it moves all the way around in through those motions. Think about how weird that would look if our knee could do that. Really weird. So for internal rotation, to turn the hip inward, you're going to step your right foot as far out away from you as you can. And then I don't know if it was sort of like a dance move, like back in the day, like think of that dance move where your knee came in. And we don't want to feel any pressure or pain on the inside of the knee. We want to feel more of the stretch coming from the internal aspect of your hip. So what's happening is like a doorknob is twisting. That doorknob is your leg bone in the hip joint, or called the acetabulum. All right, so let's switch sides. Bring the right foot under you, left ankle to thigh, lean forward, flexed foot, position. Okay, so that external rotation, hopefully in this stretch, you're feeling that on the outer aspect of the hip. So just think of like, okay, well, if this is external rotation, where would the opposite of that be? That would be on the internal aspect of the hip. So just take the complete opposite of the movement, turn the knee inward. And this is again just a very subtle stretch, because these muscles on the inside are very tiny. They're very subtle to feel. So if you don't quite feel anything, you're like, I'm doing it wrong. I must be doing it wrong. That's not quite the case. You're also like helping the mobility of your hip, because our joints, our body does use the rule. If you don't use it, you lose it. So just rotating yourself into this position can help you to keep the mobility of your hip joint. All right, let's bring it back up. Give yourself a couple of like windshield wipers of your legs back and forth, maybe some shoulder shrugs. back and forth. And give yourself a pat on the back. We made it through our March, goodness gracious, it's March. Next month is April, our March Movement Monday. All right, so thank you everybody for joining me. I hope you guys enjoyed the class as much as I did.
Thank you.
Yes, 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 thank you.